Good evening. This is not the first recording that I've done this. I did a recording where a couple days ago when this trailer first dropped, I think, to make a video on it because I saw a bunch of people having the same opinions that I did about it. And I put it into my Adobe Premiere and it was like close to 40 minutes, maybe longer. And I was like, yeah, no, for everything that I talked about, we're going to sum it up. This should be a short video because... So we're going to take a look here. I'm not going to watch the whole trailer. I'm just going to talk about some stuff that I want to get at. I wasn't planning on talking about this movie. I didn't really want to, but I saw a lot of the people that are talking about it online, not just like Borderlands YouTubers, just like in general in forums and like places and social media. They're having the same sentiments as me. So I'm like, okay. So everything that I'm going to tell you is what I think. It's not based off of what anybody else thinks. I'm simply saw the trailer myself. I don't hate it as much as some people do, and I don't hate some of the casting. I'm okay with some of it to an extent. Originally, something that I would like to also talk about is I thought the movie was going to be based off the games, as in it was going to be a tie-in, because originally I heard that this movie was supposed to take place between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, but I saw somebody say that this is the Borderlands cinematic universe. I don't know if it's going to be a Marvel thing where it is based off of like the comics, but it isn't the same exact thing as the comics. Like it's not one-to-one, like some things are going to be different. So I'm going into this movie, or not going into the movie, I'm basing this trailer and what I'm about to tell you slightly differently than my original recording. I want to say that I'm going to assume that this is its own cinematic universe, that yes, it does take place between Borderlands 2 and 3, but it shares similarities, but it's its own cinematic universe, so it's a different universe from the games, which kind of bothers me. I wish it was in the same universe, because people that play the games would love to see a story that ties into the universe. So far, every game that's released and all the DLC ties into the Borderlands universe. Other than maybe, Borderlands 4, and if they're going to incorporate the Tales from the Borderlands, specifically the newer Tales from the Borderlands, the new Tales from the Borderlands series, because apparently that shit sucked. I didn't play any of the Tales from the Borderlands games, but I know that the first couple games, like the one where Scooter died, was incorporated into Borderlands 3. But I've heard the new Tales from Borderlands is like absolute dog shit, like super hated, so they might not incorporate it. But basically every Borderlands game has all tied in together. I don't know if the comics tie into the games too much, but I do know that there's a comic series that exists. And again, that's something that they could have easily done here, was just adapt one of the comics into the movie, kind of like the Marvel series does. But I've seen a lot of comments, and I think even comments on this video, and a lot of people have said it themselves. I've seen the same sentiment of, it looks like the people who made this movie glanced at the Wikipedia page of Borderlands and were like, okay, we know what to do, because I have some things to talk about. First things first, I want to talk about ages. Obviously, you can see we have Tina, we have Krieg. Supposedly, this is Krieg. Roland, Lilith, and we have obviously Claptrap is here. There's the whole crew. Oh, and then we have Tannis. So I guess now that Tannis is here, this is our main cast by the looks of it. That's going to be in the movie the most. Because I didn't know if this was going to tie into the games or not originally, and I was like, how can you have Krieg here but not Maya? Because initially the person who met Krieg was Maya. Like none of these characters had met Krieg beforehand, maybe other than like Tina for other situations, but like Lilith and Roland have never met Krieg, so that's why I was confused about how this would take place canon-wise compared to the games. I'm not going to talk about that as much story-wise, because if it's going to be an alternate universe, which is another problem, I hate this, oh, it's an alternate universe. That's so stupid. Like, you could say that for anything. Like, any slight change you make, it's like, oh, well, it's an alternate universe, so you can't complain about it. Like, no, I'm going to complain about it. I think it's stupid. You have this entire canon story that people really enjoy, and you're just going to be like, oh, alternate universe. Oh my god, come on, dude, like, tie it into the actual story. Whatever, though, I guess, like, you want to take some liberties. Borderlands is a weird series. Another thing that I want to talk about really quick is the age of the characters. Personally, I think the casting of Tina is fine. Like, whoever they casted, I don't know who it is. I think it's perfectly fine. The casting of Tina is fine. Krieg, it's just you just get a kind of like buff guy, and that's basically all you do. It's just Krieg. Roland is played by Kevin Hart. And I'm honestly okay with that, especially if it's an alternate universe thing, which I still hate. But Roland, I'm okay with Kevin Hart. I actually don't dislike Kevin Hart at all. I know it's weird to have like a serious straight man character be played by a comedian, but I'm like honestly okay with it. Like Kevin Hart would be a worry if the other cast members weren't a bit rough. I've seen people like kind of hate on Jack Black too and say that he doesn't really fit the role of Claptrap. I honestly think he would fit Claptrap's role really well. I know that Jack Black is more of a comedian type deal and whatnot. And I know Claptrap's like a very like supposed to be like hated by everybody, annoying type deal. But I feel like I don't know. To me, like I like Jack Black, and I feel like it's just a voice. Like it's just Jack Black's voice. So I feel like Jack Black as Claptrap is actually perfectly fine. Like in any situation, I think that's like okay, that's understandable. I mean, hell, we have Chris Pratt playing every character under the sun. He might like Chris Pratt could easily have just voiced every single character in the movie. Let's be real with the roles he's getting in movies. So just be glad that Claptrap isn't Chris Pratt, I guess. I don't know. I like Jack Black. I don't think he would be bad, especially since it's just a voiceover. Like it would be weird if you had The Rock voice Claptrap or something like that. I mean, you could have. I wish they had brought in the original voice actor. To be honest with you, I would much prefer that in situations like this, but you know, who cares to an extent. And like I said, I don't hate, I like, again, you can complain about the Kevin Hart as Roland since it's an alternate universe. Oh, everything's different. But obviously like that's a problem, but I'm going to be honest. The age of Tanis Lilith is a bigger problem. Like, don't get me wrong. Whoever like, I know that Jamie Lee Curtis is a decent actor. She's been in all the Halloween movies, and I forget who's playing. The other video that I looked on had like the three had their names. I think Kate Blanchett, is that how you pronounce her name? I think so she's the one playing Lilith here. I mean, like, again, she's not, like, she doesn't look like she's 70, to be honest. She definitely doesn't look like she's in her 20s. She looks like she could be in possibly her really late 30s. Obviously, IRL, I think she's maybe in her 40s or 50. 40s and 50. Yeah, so she's like 54. So like obviously she's not old. Like that'd be mean. And like obviously I'm not going to say like none of these people are bad actors. The problem is just the casting and the role. Like you can have all of these actors in the movie as characters. I just think the characters that they were chosen as don't fit. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is too old to be playing Tanis. I think this is a sentiment that I've seen a lot of people have, is that, oh, you know, the characters like are too old. That is kind of true. At least Kevin Hart, I know he might be a bit older. He might not be in his 50s, but he is a bit older. But he doesn't look like he's 70. Like Jamie Lee Curtis just looks old. Like she doesn't look like she's in her 90s. You know, she doesn't look like an old hag type deal, but she looks older. All right, like she looks like she could be in her 60s. I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just saying it how it is. Tanis does not look like that, especially if we're taking Borderlands 2 looks. I know Borderlands 2 and 1 are dated. If we're taking a look at Borderlands 3, like I said, Borderlands 2 by accident. If we're taking a look at Borderlands 3, at the oldest, they're in their early 30s. Both Tanis, Lilith, and Roland are easily in their early 30s, and that's if we're talking about Borderlands 3. And Borderlands 3, by the way, takes place 7 years after Borderlands 2, and Tina is about, I think, 19 or 20. She even says it herself. She's like 19 or 20 in Borderlands 3. And the Tina in this, if we take a closer look right here, she looks like she's like 15, maybe. She does not look that old in this. Like, she doesn't look like she's in her 20s. That's a bad. Yeah, I mean, if we take a look, like, there we go. Like, she looks like, she doesn't necessarily look like she's 12, or like she could pass for a 13-year-old. I forgot her name. Tiny Tina. Tiny Tina is 13 in Borderlands 2. So obviously this movie, like universe-wise, would take place before the events of Borderlands 3 because she's clearly not an adult yet. Then that would make all of the other characters way younger. Obviously, oh, it's an alternate universe, so you can make them whatever ages. Yeah, but the problem is, if you have 60-year-old Vault Hunters, 50 and 60, and you plan on making more movies, how are you going to tie that in? Like, they're going to be dead by the time the third movie comes out. Like, I'm not literally, like, obviously the actors might still be alive. They're going to be way older than they should be, lore-wise. Like, you can't, especially if you're going to have Tina be her actual age is the problem. Okay, so Tina, like, that's what I'm saying, where it looks like they looked at a Wikipedia page and were just like, oh, this is Borderlands. Like, Tina's a kid, and then they looked at all the other characters, and it's like, Tanis looks like she's 70. So I kind of want to explain myself more here, because I feel like I didn't do or explain it how I want to as I'm thinking about it now. What I mean by age is, even if lore-wise they say Tanis and Lilith, even though they look older than, you know, the age of 30, even if they say, oh, and well, in the movie, their actual ages are 30, the problem is if you plan on making more Borderlands movies, the actors, if they're way older than the age they say they are in the movie, they're going to look substantially older later on. So say you decide to make another movie the actors are just going to age. So if you already have old actors trying to play younger people, it's going to be substantially harder for those actors to look that age compared to if you have an actor who's only a couple years older than the age of the actual role. Like if they come out and they're like, oh, Tannis in the movie is actually supposed to be, 30, like, or late 20s like she is in the games, it's like, okay, well, one, she doesn't look like that already, and two, a few years from now she's going to look even older. So good luck doing that. That's kind of what I wanted to get out, story wise. Even if the story does say they're old, even if the movie does paint them as being younger, it's going to be way harder to keep up that look the older they get IRL. Really, that's my biggest point with the movie. I don't really like talk about the story or anything because it's, you could really do anything story-wise and not have it be bad unless it just falls apart, like, writing-wise. But you can do, like, any story. It's Borderlands. You could have some crazy adventure, do whatever. Like, they could just make stuff up, that's how Borderlands really is, just some kooky stuff. I do have 2 other talking points that I will edit in here, and then I'll end the video. I have, like, 40-plus more minutes of me talking about the movie, and it feels like just the same repeats. I do have a part that I do want to add in. It's me talking about realism to an extent. Mostly, it has to do with Lilith's hair and some of the actor design. And then I also I have a pet peeve that I talk about with the masks. But yeah, I'm just going to leave those in, and then we're going to end the video off. Which isn't, and especially it's even worse if we take a look at, like right here, if we take a look at Roland and Lilith, they're supposed to be a couple. In the games, at least, I would assume they're, knowing the movie that they just glanced at the wiki, they probably don't even know that Roland and Lilith are supposed to be a couple. So that's going to be wonderful. But they're supposed to be a couple. And like Kevin Hart, I don't know how old Kevin Hart is. I'm assuming he's not that young. Like, I mean, I know he's not that young. He's got kids and shit. Kevin Hart is 44. I knew he was going to be in his 40s, to be honest, but he still looks relatively young. All right, like you can have older actors play younger roles. I mean, like the person playing like Tiny Tina, she might be like 18 playing a 13-year-old or something. Maybe she's not 18, but you can have you have older actors playing younger roles. Like Kevin Hart, he looks young enough. Like he doesn't look like he's 60. He's in his mid 40s, but he looks like he could play a 30-some-year-old. That's fine, or like early 30s. That's fine. He looks young. Lilith doesn't. And I'm trying to say that nicely. It looks like they, make up her and stuff, but it's still like she's still stretching it a little. All right. Tannis, they just decided to make her 80. Like they made Jamie Lee Curtis look older than she actually does. I have to look it up. I have to look up a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis. Maybe not. Maybe not. She kind of looks the same. Maybe they tried to make her younger for the movie. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. She does look younger in the movie, but it's not young enough. Have The Rock play Roland. I get it's alternate universe, so it doesn't matter, but like he looks way more like Roland and would fit that role more, especially because Roland is serious, tall, strong. The Rock usually plays strong, tall, serious roles. Like, yeah, he does some comedy roles, but like The Rock would have fit this role perfectly, to be completely honest. And like you could have had Kevin Hart in the movie. I mean, The Rock was probably he was probably out of budget for them, to be honest. For reference for this upcoming part, this is the Lilith hair part. I cut out the footage because it wasn't really useful. I was looking at Mouthpiece and like some of the enemy characters and stuff in the movie, and I was talking about realism and how it's hard to adapt a very stylized, cell shaded, the game is cell shading. So, and I was talking about how it's hard to adapt certain stylizations of fictional media to real life, because this is a live action movie and they're trying to make everything look real to life. So I compare it to anime, how it's like impossible. Like it would just look unnatural to have a real life person look like an anime character. So I'm just trying to, for reference, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just comparing how it's difficult to adapt, certain fictional stuff to real life, basically, just so you understand where we're coming from for this next part. Especially Lilith with her hair and how she looks. Like you can't pull off Lilith's look realistic at all. Like it's extremely hard to do that. And again, it's not impossible to make a video game or something like Borderlands have the movie be realistic looking. The smartest thing they would have done is just to make a CG movie. Like just make a CG movie at that point, but still, like you can have Lilith be, I don't know, like who's a redhead actor? Like you could have just had a red-haired actress play Lilith and have it be natural hair. Like, Lilith's hair is supposed to be naturally led. Due to the way Lilith's hair looks, it will not look natural in any situation other than a drawing or animation or a video game. It's like, to be honest, it's the equivalent of like an anime character. You can't make an anime character one-to-one in real life, or it's going to look super fake. Like, you can make it look real life, but it's going to look fake. You know, it's going to be very obvious that, oh, they're wearing a wig. Like, that hair color isn't natural at all. Obviously, you can dye someone's hair and it will look less fake compared to a wig. This just straight up looks like a wig. And if it's not a wig, then it just looks extremely fake, because hair doesn't look like that, especially with the flow. Like, the way Lilith's hair flows, they're trying to give Lilith's hair like the Lilith flow here, like right here. Like, it just looks like this doesn't look as natural, but you could tell that they're trying to. You can't get a Borderlands 2 look. Yeah, here's Borderlands 1, here's Borderlands 2, here's Borderlands 3. Like, Borderlands 2 Lilith, this hair is, I would classify this as anime hair. It will not look right on a real person. The hair color on top of the way it flows. This is anime hair, okay? It's a video game. Like, Tomb Raider, if you could adapt the Tomb Raider games into a movie and it would look good. You can adapt the Uncharted games to a movie and it would look good. They did that, and the Uncharted movie apparently is nothing like the game. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are games where it would work. Like, Call of Duty, you can adapt into a movie and it would work really well. Like, you could just do a one-to-one adaptation, make the characters look exactly the same as they do in game, and it would actually work. Borderlands is not a series that you can do a one-to-one adaptation and have it work. I'm not saying the characters have to look completely different, and it's possible to have some characters look kind of one-to-one, like Roland, for example. But certain parts of the game, you have to take some liberties, like twist it up or do something with it. Like, you don't have to completely change it, make it look completely different, but you have to set it in reality where it's like, okay, let's make this realistic. We have to put a real life flow on it. How would this work realistically? And I think something like that, you know, like you could take Space Odyssey, or, you know, like The Fifth Element. I guess I've seen some scenes of that. Like certain movies like The Matrix, you know, something like that, where you can have a non-realistic setting, like a sci-fi-ish setting, and still have it look real. I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of hard to explain, to put into words, if it's what I'm getting at. I don't know. Something else that's weird here that I want to talk about is one of my other problems is the psychos. This was a pet peeve. Obviously, it's minimal. Not all of the psychos have the same exact psycho mask. So if you just Google Borderlands psycho. So if you look up Borderlands, they all have the exact same mask. All Borderlands psychos have the Borderlands mask here. This is something that somebody made. What the fuck is that? So if we take a look at like a Borderlands psycho, like all Borderlands psychos look like this. They have the exact same mask. Some of them might be a little bit different, but as you can see, exact same this. This is the iconic psycho mask. Iconic Borderlands psycho. What the fuck is going on down there? Iconic psycho Borderlands mask. And then we take a look at the movie. What the fuck is that, dude? Come on. Like, I get it. Okay, that's like the iconic mask, although none of them have tubes like this. Like, okay, that's a bit iconic. Doesn't really look tubey. For this mask, I'm okay with that one because those are the larger guys. And if you look at the badass enemies in Borderlands do have different facial like masks. So like if you take a look right here, like this guy, weird looking mask, like the badass enemies, you know, their heads are a bit different. Badass Goliath or something like that. Like some of the other characters don't have the actual psycho mask. Like here it is. The Goliath from Borderlands 3. Like, yeah, their head's gonna look different. But the actual generic psychos, dude, for some reason I take too long and like beat around the bush with this one, but genuinely, it just doesn't make sense to not have all the psychos have the normal psycho mask. Like just the default normal psychos, not like the large guys or the badass or the Goliaths, but like all of the normal psychos that you see, why don't they have the psycho mask? Like it's the most iconic thing, I feel like, of Borderlands is that iconic psycho mask. I also talk about how every single Borderlands title, other than the Tales games, which I don't consider real Borderlands games, all of them except for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, has the Borderlands psycho mask on the cover. Like Borderlands 1 has a psycho with a psycho like the iconic psycho mask. Borderlands 2, the pre-sequel, Borderlands 3, even the Handsome Collection is just a straight up golden psycho mask. Like, I feel like that's maybe a big red flag, because I get it might not be as easy to design, but like at the same time, it's simply you get the Borderlands symbol, all right? The Volt symbol. Take that and you just stencil spray paint that over like 100 masks, 100 white masks. That's it. Instead, they just went like with generic Mad Max looking masks, which I guess not all of them are that psycho mask, but like in Borderlands universe, or at least the games, every single psycho has that mask. So it's just like, it's such a pet peeve that not every psycho has it. Like in the game, every single psycho was wearing that mask, dude. Like, come on. It's like the main staple. It's the first thing you see on the cover of the game, dude. Anyway, I deleted 20 more minutes of footage because I went on about hiring the voice actors as actors, although some of the voice actors for Borderlands don't necessarily look exactly like the actors. I basically went on about how you could have reached out and had some of the voice actors, take some of the roles as the actors, because with how certain game devs work, not every game does this, and it's not always like Brick is voiced by a black guy. I did not know that. I'll have him on screen here, the voice actor. I did not know he voiced Brick. He does a fantastic job, and I would have never expected him to voice Brick. But certain situations, when devs are doing characters, what a lot of I don't want to say all the time, but there are, I feel like, a lot of the time, to an extent, they will model the character's face based off of the voice actor's face, because then you'll have the voice fit the character more. Because if you have a voice actor who's speaking and you see them, like, I don't know, just the voice fits the face, I guess that's the best way to put it. I don't really know how to explain it. Other than that, I don't know. I also thought while editing this that they could have easily just hired, like, they didn't need A-list celebrities, famous people. Like, they got a lot of A-listers for this movie, and I feel like it was one of those things where, like, oh, we could get all these big names for it, and there was no need for that. Like, I would have preferred a, like, B-list or C-list actor who fit the role and actually cared a lot about the script, or at least the movie, compared to the people they have. Like, does Jamie Lee Curtis even know what the fuck a Borderlands is? She's probably never even heard of the series. Oh, what's that? Is that on the Nintendo? Like, okay, I'm being a little bit harsh here because she's old, but like, genuinely, like, has any of these people, other than like the only person in this cast that I feel like has possibly even played the game, maybe Jack Black, knowing that he's like a bit of a gamer nerd like that, but other than that, like, maybe they all have heard of Borderlands and they really enjoy the game. I don't know, but it just, plus you could have saved a lot of money by just getting C or B list actors. You didn't need these A-listers, so you could easily make a really good movie, just cheaper production. I don't know. To me, this movie screams, look at these famous actors we got for the Borderlands movie. It's based off the hit Borderlands game series that's kind of gone down a huge slope of being shitty because, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was kind of ass cheeks. I'm going to be completely honest with you, waste of money to buy that game. And Borderlands 3, story-wise, just hit a brick wall and it blew up in flames or whatever the hell happened with that story. I mean, it wasn't the worst, but it was the worst we've had so far. And then New Tales from the Borderlands released, and I didn't play that, and I'm glad I didn't. I'll tell you that. Anyway, we're done here. So I was sitting here editing this, and I'm looking at the poster for the Borderlands movie, and I can't believe I didn't think about this till now. All right, so I said this movie probably happens between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, and then I was looking at Kevin Hart as Roland, and then I realized Roland died in Borderlands 2. So, and Krieg is there, which Krieg never met any of these Vault Hunters as far as we know. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there is something that I'm missing lore-wise. Maybe I'm just forgetting. Maybe it did get brought up at some point in the games that Krieg had met them before Roland had died. But yeah, Roland died in the second game. And somehow Krieg is here before the second game, so this has to take place before the end of the second game. So it's possible, I will say this, maybe it is possible for Krieg to be there, but that means Handsome Jack is still alive because, you know, Handsome Jack didn't die until after Roland had died. So, oh man, this is cinematic universe all right, because there is no way this can tie into the games if Handsome Jack is not in the movie and Roland is alive, along with Krieg being there. So, I am way less optimistic about whatever story they're going to throw. Again, it could still be good, but with how they casted the characters, oh my god, I can't, dude.